this to demolish or not to demolish saga. I think Singaporeans are also very tired. 本来是留名千古的，现在是遗臭万年。我们辛辛苦苦50年得到的名声，现在变成全世界的大笑话，很悲哀是吧？名誉扫地，修身治国平天下，我们有做到吗？ Let me try to talk a bit about the abolishing of some of the things that has been said in this to demolish or not to demolish saga. The MC Kwan just mentioned the secret ministerial committee. And the committee says time and again, one of the main purpose and tasks of forming the secret ministerial committee is to try to understand what went on in Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's mind and the circumstances under which the will was made. If there is a dispute about our will, if people think there's something wrong about our will, who are the most obvious people you must talk to? You must talk to the lawyers. You must talk to the people who gave advice to the person to make the will. You must talk to the lawyers who made the will. As it stands today, we haven't heard anything as to whether the secret ministerial committee has talked to any of the lawyers at all. The obvious thing was never done. So far, all we know is they talked to the 3 siblings who are beneficiaries. Either the ministerial committee is very incompetent or it lacks common sense. Don't you think so? What this saga of to demolish or not to demolish has shown us is that we need to abolish our current system of government that has so many secrets. How can you have a company that manages 270 over billion of our country's assets and the CEO's pay is secret? Many Singaporeans have been asking, okay, fine. You say it's quite normal to have ministerial committees. So people have been asking, can you tell us, last year, how many ministerial committees did you establish? The last 5 years, how many ministerial committees did you establish? And what is the answer? Silence. People have been asking, since the secret is out, you're no longer a secret ministerial committee, can you disclose to Singaporeans what are your terms of reference? What are your minutes of your meetings? Silence. Silence is equal to secrecy. In Parliament, one of the ministers said, the National Heritage Board informed me that there's this deed of gift. So I promptly informed another minister of government. And the reason I did that was because, you see, the will had not been probated yet. You see, when a will is probated, you have to deal only with the executors of the will. So the minister said, since the will is not probated yet, I have to take into account the interest of the beneficiaries. And that's why I informed the other minister, because he's the beneficiary. In Malay, we call pecah lobang. Because the minister has inadvertently admitted in Parliament that he has crossed the public and private line. He has inadvertently admitted in Parliament the abuse of power. Let me explain. If the will had not been probated, how did that minister know that the other minister is the beneficiary of their estate? When you pay too much money, you get this type of minister. Many people wonder, why is this going on? How can we end 2 days of one-sided debate in Parliament with the remarks that end by saying, oh, since all the allegations are baseless and there is no evidence, closed case. This is worse than own self check own self. This is like own self decide, no need to check on self. Now you know why we are the laughing stock of the whole world. There must be a resolution to this saga. It cannot end by own self decide, no need check on self. Do you agree with me, my dear Singaporeans? Many people crack their heads. They try to figure out, why did this happen? Because the government has said time and again, as the government, under the law, we can decide what to do with the house. We can acquire it, we can preserve it, we can conserve it, we can do it. We are empowered under the law to do it. And so the government says there's no need for us to do all this. Precisely! If there's no need for you and you are empowered to do it, why are you doing all this? Are you stupid? Let me speculate why. This pure speculation, huh? Okay? Imagine, Lee Kuan Yew has said time and again over the years, publicly in several views in Parliament to the Cabinet, he has always said, I want my house to be demolished. So, granted the government has the power to decide not to demolish the house, but imagine, any government that dares to tell Singaporeans that I decide because I have the power to go against Lee Kuan Yew's wishes and not demolish his house. What will happen when you ask to vote for the government? And that's why this is happening. My speculation. Speculation again, huh? They must find some way to convince you that, oh, Lee Kuan Yew actually changed his mind, you know. We had one minister went on Facebook. Hey, you look at clause 2 of the demolition of the House bill. It says that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew has accepted and acknowledged that his house can be demolished. This style of reasoning, how to become a minister. You know what the minister is saying? Just because there is a clause, the second part of the demolition, that clause, if for some reason my house cannot be demolished because of the change in the law or whatever, please ensure that no one tramples into my house. Let me give an analogy. What he's saying is like, okay, you know, just in case my house gets burned down, so I buy an insurance policy lah. But that doesn't mean I accept and acknowledge that my house will be burned down. It's illogical. What makes it worse, it is beneath the dignity of a government to do character assassination, to make insinuations, to put rebuttals on Facebook and social media. When the government has already said, we will go to Parliament and make a statement and have a debate, why are ministers still going to social media to make such If I may borrow the word, baseless allegations, baseless attacks on the accusers. Another funny thing, somebody said, oh, from the time the lawyer entered Lee Kuan Yew's house, they only had 15 minutes with Lee Kuan Yew, you know. So maybe he didn't know what he was signing. This is Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's 7th will. He is, well, he has a first-class honors from Cambridge in law. You are trying to ask Singaporeans to imagine that Lee Kuan Yew needs more time to sign his 7U, and that makes the circumstances of the will suspicious. It's nonsensical. For those who know Lee Kuan Yew, if he wants something, he do it straight away. He said, okay, I want my will to sign. Straight away, the lawyer will fly there, and they will sign. And that's why it was 15 minutes. Look at the ministerial statements in Parliament. He began by saying, because of the conflict of interest, I recuse myself from any decisions or discussions. And then later on in the same speech, a few minutes later, the same person says, oh, but I made 3 statutory declarations to the ministerial committee. How can you recuse yourself from decisions and discussion and then make 3 statutory committee? Do you know the meaning of the word recuse? Please read the dictionary. You cannot be half recused, quarter recused, or in the beginning recused, then at the end not recused. At the end of the day, we have to keep in mind the rule of law. What is the rule of law? You know, I mentioned I just came back from The Hague after a 15-hour flight yesterday night. I was attending the World Justice Forum at The Hague. And the World Justice Forum is about the rule of law. What is the rule of law? If you think there's something wrong with the will, you contest the will. That is the rule of law. You don't say, oh, my ministers decided among themselves to set up this ministerial committee. It's got nothing to do with me, okay? And the purpose of having a committee, like I mentioned, find out what's the thinking, what's the circumstances, and try to figure out the options, what are the options available. It is so simple. Lee Kuan Yew's first clause in the demolition says, demolish my house. Second clause in the will says, if for some reason the law changed, you cannot demolish, please make sure nobody tramples in and out of my house. So all the options that have been floated in the air, the accusers have said, they're okay. Demolish the house, have a memorial garden. And then we hear some demolishing things from the other side that says, oh, no. Maybe we should keep the basement and build a heritage center. If you build a basement, you are still allowing the people to trample into part of his house. And that is not what Lee Kuan Yew's wish is. So what do we do? Well, actually, effectively, there's nothing much you can do, you know, right? Because, as many people has mentioned, right, the rule of law is very weak in Singapore. You know, in 2007, the International Bar Association had an international conference in Singapore. And then in 2008, they published a paper which essentially said that in Singapore it's not rule of law, but rule by law. You know what's the mother of the crux of the issue in this saga, and I said it earlier, I'm going to repeat. It shows that we need to abolish the current system of government that has so many secrets. What infuriated me most was when the government explained, say, oh, ministerial committees are very common. Most of them last for a very short time. 3 of them actually has lasted for years. And these 3 are for healthcare funding, retirement, and housing. Huh? You mean ministers spend many years? And these are the only committees that spend many years, and we end up still with the state that we have today on our HDB, CPF, and healthcare. And what is the state today? It is still a secret. How much of the returns of our CPF has the government been keeping since the CPF started? Secret. What is the breakdown of the price of HDB flats into land and construction? Secret. Does the amount that the government collect from your MediSave contribution plus the interest on your MediSave balances exceed total government spending on healthcare and total withdrawals, meaning that from a cash flow perspective, the government is still not spending a single cent on healthcare, pensions, or public housing? That is our people's problem. To demolish the secrets of government, and not about whether to demolish or not to demolish 38 Oxley Road. Thank you.